Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, that honors the apostles and the elders, great millstone, for teaching us his truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquath that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will, as always, an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I kind of just wanted to go through a little bit of history in regards to Native American tribes and continuation of a little series that I started in regards to examining a lot of the customs that a lot of these so-called Native Americans, you 10 tribes, that consist of you so-called Latinos and Native Americans, Seminole, Chickasaw, Cherokee, so on and so forth, and examining a lot of their customs to also prove and show that they are also part of those 12 tribes. They're also part of that plank that is made up of the two sticks between Judah and Ephraim that you find in the book of Ezekiel 37, right? So today I just wanted to go through another custom that's also found in the Holy Scriptures. So this is pertaining to essentially sundry, marriage laws, right? So I previously had covered something similar in regards to this custom, found amongst, so-called the Negro tribes, so-called African Americans and West Indians, Haitians, that was predominantly found, amongst you Israelites in the Western African countries, predominantly, the Ashanti in places like Nigeria and Ghana, present day today. But this is also a similar custom I found amongst the Native American tribes. So on the screen, again, I want to be going through this book I'm still reading here. It's quite a good book. It's called It's called The History of the American Indians by James Adair. And essentially, he spends a lot of time surrounded by, you so-called Native American tribes. I've forgotten how long, I believe it was 40 years. And, he found a lot of parallels between, the people who are written of in the scriptures and their customs, essentially, right? So I want to be just reviewing another custom of theirs, and Lord's will is always that this lesson may be edifying, right? Salaki for the long intro. So, okay, let me just start off with the prophecy, because I was kind of doing a little bit of talking there, but I just wanted to establish the what's it called? What's the basis for this lesson, basically. And so just bear with me on this. Let me just go to my Apocrypha. So this is the part of the prophecy in regards to, you so-called Native Americans. And it goes into the 10 tribes. So this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verse 40. And it says, "But those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and carried them over the waters, and came they into another land," right? And this Hosea is referring to Hoshea, who was one of the last kings who reigned over the northern kingdom, right? The kings of Israel, basically, right? Not the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom, right? So verse 41, and it says, "But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they may keep their statutes, which they never kept, in their own land, and they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow places of the river, for the Most High Yahweh showed them signs, and led and held still the flood till they were passed over. For though that country there was a great way to go, namely a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsareth, right? And I previously had covered this in the last lesson in regards to this this word Arsareth here. So when you go into the Jewish Encyclopedia 1925, you would see that the word Arsareth was identified with the Americas, that Columbus identified this part of the world with, right? So so just for further clarification, you can find that in the previous lesson that I did in regards to this, right? So okay, so let's jump into the what's it called, the custom here. Salaki for the rambling. Okay. Okay, so this is page 90 in the book History of the Native Americans, and it says, so I'm just going to read a little bit here, right? It's pretty short. It says, the surviving brother by the Mosaic law was to raised seed, excuse me, to a deceased brother who left a widow childless, and to perpetuate his name and family, and to inherit his goods and estate, or to be degraded. And if the issue he begat was a male child, it was assumed the name of the deceased. The Indian custom looks the very same way, yet it is in this, as in their law of blood, the eldest brother can redeem. So it says the following: although the widow is bound by a strict penal law to mourn the death of her husband for a space of 3 to 4 years, yet she be known to lament her loss with a sincere heart for the space of a year, and her circumstances of living are so strait as to need a change of her station. The elder brother of her deceased husband lies with her. She is thereby exempted from the law of mourning, has a liberty to tie up her hair, and anoint and paint herself in the same manner as a Hebrew widow who was refused by the surviving brother of her deceased husband, became free to marry whom she pleased. So essentially, as the author is describing, they were essentially free from that strict law. So because when the woman essentially when her husband had passed away, without, and then she did not have any children, essentially the brother was to take on that responsibility of that deceased husband and go in unto her and actually forward and actually bring forth and begat a son, right? So that's pretty much what it's referring to. And it says, I'm just going to read a little bit more here. And it says, to warm constitution, young widows keep their eyes so intent on this mild, beneficent law that they frequently treat their elder brothers-in-law with spirituous liquors till they intoxicate them, and thereby decoy. Sometimes they fall on the men, calling them hook, book, waxy. I probably will put these words in the description because I'm probably pronouncing them wrong. Or it's normally called skubali, or it's called hasi krufa. Eunuchus' brother's refusal loosed his shoe from his foot and spit in his face, right? So essentially, they would kind of like, get the man, liquored up a little bit, so she would have the opportunity to essentially bring forth a son, with that deceased, with the deceased husband's brother, essentially, because he is the only, he is a more and the best essential candidate to bring forth, that son, that particular lineage, continue the legacy, basically, right? And that's actually found within the scriptures, and I want to get that right now. So just bear with me. Okay, this is Deuteronomy 25, verse 5, and it says, "If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her to him to wife, to perform the duty of an husband's brother unto her. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, and that his name be not put out of Israel." So essentially, it was supposed to continue the legacy of that man, because that man did not have, that deceased brother, he did not have the opportunity to actually bring forth seed with that woman, right? So now it was essentially the responsibility of the brother who is alive to essentially continue that family name, basically, right? So it says, verse 7, and it says, "And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders, and say, My husband's brother refused to raise up his brother's name, his brother a name in Israel, and he will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of his city shall call him and speak unto him, and if he stand to it and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders, and loose his shoe from his foot, and spit in his face, and shall answer and say, so shall it be done unto the man that will not build up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that has his shoe loosed," right? So essentially, the man, if he decides not to actually bring forth seed with that woman, he becomes like essentially like a laughing stock, right? You have your, this woman that spits in your face. The idea behind it is really to continue the legacy, continue the heritage, continue the bloodline, basically, right? Because we know, pursuant to the scriptures, that the man is the one who carries the seed, right? In this society, everything is essentially upside down, and there is essentially a misunderstanding, a misconception, because people believe that women are the progenitors. Like, essentially, a man is the one that carries the seed and brings forth that life, and the woman, her role is to nurture that life and bring it to term, right? Okay, so I just wanted to get another, hold on, let me just put that away. Just bear with me on this. Okay. Okay, so this is Genesis 38. I'll start at verse 6, and it says, "And in the course of time," I'm reading in the NLT, it says, "Judah arranged for his firstborn son to marry a young woman named Tamar. But was a wicked man in the Lord's sight, so the Lord took his life. Then Judah said unto brother Onan, Go and marry Tamar, as our law requires, and of the brother of a man who has died." So essentially the man that passed away, so and Onan, those two here are sons of Judah. And because had died, the responsibility was to fall on the brother essentially now. And Onan was supposed to go and marry this woman named Tamar, right? And it says, okay, let me just read a little bit more. I'll just read to the end, and it says, "Then Judah said unto brother Onan to go marry Tamar, as our law requires, of the brother of a man who has died. You must produce an heir for your brother," right? So that's the objective. The objective is to produce an heir, for that kin, right? And continue the legacy, right? And then you look at society today, society is so upside down, where there is a strong push and a strong advocate for essentially the women to delete their own children. This society is so backwards. It is a society where it doesn't promote the continuation of life. This is a very good custom, because the Lord said his ways are ultimately higher than our ways. The Lord is a power as essentially pure life. That's why we have these laws, statutes, and commandments. As a matter of fact, this is Deuteronomy 4 verse 5, and it says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my power commanded me, that ye shall do so in the land whither we go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great that hath the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, so nigh unto them, as the Lord our power is in all things that we call upon him for," right? So this is what makes our people a great nation, and this is what makes us stand out from these other nations. So we have these laws, statutes, and commandments, right? It's a method. This is customs and culture that was given unto us. This is what makes us holy. This is what makes us separate. This is what makes us distinct. This is what is actually needed upon the planet Earth, even to this very, very day, right? Okay, let me just go back to Genesis, and it says, Genesis 38 verse 9, and it says, "But Onan was not willing to have a child who would not be his own heir. So whenever he had intercourse with his brother's wife, he spilled the semen on the ground, and this prevented her from having a child. who would belong to his brother, right? So he didn't want to fulfill the duties of, the brother who was supposed to take on this woman, Tamar, right? And it says, and the Lord considered it evil for Onan to deny a child for his dead brother. So the Lord Yahweh took Onan's life too, right? So eventually in the story, by some misunderstanding, Judah ends up taking, the daughter-in-law, right? But you see, the objective is to see that the son here, Onan, his responsibility was to actually continue and actually raise up seed, raise up a child, and actually continue the heritage, continue the bloodline for his deceased brother, right? And you see the consequence of what the Lord did when he didn't want to do that, right? So just a PSA, there are some laws, you can't fully keep in this society, but this is, part of our culture. This is part of our customs, right? And, as a matter of fact, let me get another one here. Okay, this is Jeremiah 17, verse 4, and it says, and thou even unto thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire of mine anger, which shall burn forever, right? So, essentially we provoke the Lord to anger, and we're in a situation where, we're under the foot of our enemies, and we cannot keep all the laws in this society, right? But, it's not, some things are lawful, let me just say that, but not everything is expedient. But, in the kingdom of heaven, this is something that it will be, practiced, right? This is something that the heathens, would have to learn how to do, because they would have to learn the ways of righteousness, Okay, so let me just, I guess I can end it off here, but that pretty much is the point. I kind of wanted to make another point, actually, in regards to, the sons, right? Because when you look at the custom itself, it was a method to essentially continue forth the bloodline and continue forth, the legacy. In this society, like I was saying earlier, it promotes essentially deleting your babies, and it promotes a system where, the Israelite man, is not able to essentially practice, his own culture in full force. And then B, it promotes a system where it's only strictly about the women, right? It kind of stifles the manhood. It kind of stifles men stepping into their sovereignty. So I kind of wanted to read this real quick, then I'll end it off here, and then it's so this is Exodus 1, verse. I'll start at verse 15, and it says, and the king of Egypt spake unto the Hebrew midwives, of each of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah, and he said, when you do the office of a midwife of the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive, right? So I wanted to read this, to show you the importance of men, to show you the importance of Israelite men, and to show you the importance of the continuation of sons, because it shows that this society does not respect and actually a show of reverence for the continuation of the nation, right? These nations don't like it, when the family structure, is essentially intact. And that's what the importance of culture does. Culture, has us functioning in a way that, the importance of heritage, our history, legacy, and bloodline is preserved, right? But through different tactics that Esau normally puts out, for example, like Planned Parenthood, what he does is he pushes a vibration that, culture is not important, and promotes the sentiment of degenerate culture in hip hop, so-called culture, and that makes you uncultured, right? So it says, verse 18, and the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, we have not done this thing, and we have why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And it says, the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and delivered ere the midwives come in to them. And it says, for the Most High dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And this is what these nations are afraid of. They're afraid of the fact that, we multiply and become a very great nation. So they put forth these different snares and tactics, unrighteous decrees, that they're working iniquity in their beds, like it describes in Micah, to essentially decrease and eliminate and get rid of, the nation of Israel, right? And that's why, coming back to our culture is so heavy and it's so important, right? So we're able to recognize call upon a name of our power, understand who we are, understand our culture and our customs, and right, and it promotes a sentiment of actually how to deal with each other, right? And then actually even as far as knowing who we are, we also know our enemies and the snares and tactics that our enemy puts forth, right? So that's kind of pretty much it. It really shows, the importance of the Israelite men, the importance of the seed, continuing the seed, nurturing the seed, right? And this is a vibration that doesn't get discussed a lot, in our culture. It's a culture, we live in a culture where it strongly empowers the women, and it strongly disempowers the men, especially the Israelite men in this society, right? And this is not to knock the women, it's just to understand that men are, one, above the women, and two, it's to understand that men are the ones that carry the seed, right? They're able to actually, bring forth life, because they actually carry both the X and the Y chromosome, right? The men are the one who are very, very precious, right? And will become a lot more precious, most specifically the men of the Lord in these times and times to come, right? Isaiah 4:1, right? So that's pretty much it. I kind of just wanted to touch on that, I guess the importance of the seed and manhood and, these customs and so on and so forth, right? But hopefully, this lesson was edifying. I'd just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone for teaching us his truth. Until next time, I say Shalom.